Hello, welcome to CS 133. I'm going to go over some things today just to get you set up and kind of introduce myself and just get things started. So hopefully I can answer some of those questions that you might have and make sure that we're all starting on the same page there. So my name's Matt. You can call me Matt. If you prefer Dr. Nabby, that works too. Um, I just joined the computer science department, but I've been at Woo. This is my 15th year. My pronouns are he, him. And I'm excited to have a class like this because I do coding all the time and I don't always get to teach it previously. So now it's something I get to do. All right. Let's see. What do we need to do? I'm going to make sure that we are recording and let's share my screen so you can see what I'm working with. So if I go over to Canvas, we'll start there. So every week you're going to see exactly what to do. You can see right now I've got all the stuff I want you to do to get set up. The most important thing to do is get into Zybooks because that's our entire platform. It's our interactive textbook. It's where our homework's done. It's where all your coding is done. Python is a language that exists outside of Zybooks, but we're not going to do any of that unless you really want to. And I'll show you some things about that in a minute. But what you can do if you're new to programming, which many of you have already said something like that in your introductions, you can just stay in Zybooks. We're going to learn and play and code in that ecosystem. So once you get your stuff set up, so there's links here, go through and check out everything when we go to our weekly modules. See how slow things are on campus right now. It's part of the reason why this video is delayed is because things were incredibly slow. Canvas was not working. And you may find this too. So if you're experiencing any trouble, when I was using computers off the campus network or outside of Woo, and even using Canvas, things were fine. So it seems to be some issue that's local to campus. So we will try and get through this. But if something is happening and you can't access your things, you need help, send me an email, direct message me on Discord, whatever you want to do there to get a hold of me. So as you can see, this is taking an incredible long time to load. It's super unfortunate. And come on. All right, so while we're waiting for that to load, each week you're going to see exactly what to do, sections, deliverables, everything that you need to do. So when this loads, which I probably should have loaded this one first, huh? There we go. Sections 1.1 to 1.11, so that's 11 sections. In each of those sections, there's various activities, and I'll walk you through those real quick in just a minute. But that's this week. So what do you need to do? By Friday, that's this Friday, 11:59 p.m., you need to have your reading done. I'll show you what that means in a moment. By Sunday, you have to have your homework done. Homework is smaller than reading. Reading's a little bit bigger, but reading is an interactive click through kind of experience where homework is asking you actual questions and you're getting a chance to take what you read about or interacted with and learned and try and use it. And then in addition to that, we'll have some labs. And the labs will be posted shortly, a little bit later this week, and they're going to be due on Thursdays of next week. So the material this week, you read, you get a little practice, and then you have time to work on your lab and actually do coding and deal with debugging code and making it actually run until next week it'll be due. So week two, weeks one, coding assignments due, and that pattern will continue the entire term. So there's always a delay on the labs because the labs are your actual implementation. That's where you're doing something. So, all right. So if you click on week two, you'll see I'm not going to do it right now because we know that that's going to take way too long to load. But then it's going to go, I think it's 2.1 through 2.13, something like that. But all of those sections will be next week. The loads are about the same each week, the amount of work. So let's go to Zybooks and see what's going on there. So if you go to Zybooks, once you get set up and logged in, you should see CS133, Introduction to Python Programming into your home there. And you'll have a little different bottom right-hand corner than I do. Sorry, I was already bouncing around here. So, and you can't see everything. There we go. My tabs were, I moved it down to be able to access things, but you can't see it. So, all right. Here we have your chapters. You can see chapter one right there at the top. If you kind of, we go about one per week. So you can go ahead and look at those. If you just joined us and you haven't paid for anything, you should have free access to chapter one. And then at some point, by the time you upgrade to your paid subscription, then you have access to everything. So you have a little time to get that figured out. On the bottom right hand of the menu there, as you can see, I have some extra things because I'm an instructor, obviously, but the you have an assignments tab, and that's where you find your work. So that's how I would want you to work. Assignments, go to week one reading, you click on that, it tells you exactly what to do. And you can go and click on it there, or you can go over to the actual interactive text and click on it there. It doesn't matter, but what you need to do this week, it's all spelled out right there, and it tells you how many points. Homework is going to be worth different points each week, but we're not going to worry about those points because it's the same amount of points for your grade in Canvas each week. So whatever you want to call it 100, and you need to get, so if you get 95 out of 95 points, you get 100% on your reading. And the reading is very much just click through and interact. So I'll show you what that looks like just as we jump into 1.1 here real quick. You can see that there's some actual reading. So there's like a paragraph with some words and things like that, some definitions that you can work through. But then there's these animations. So you start the animation. You can make it go faster if you're feeling like you get this and you understand what's going on. You have to actually physically click through, as I'm doing right now, waiting for everything to kind of do what it does. Maybe you want to take some notes. Maybe you want to replay this. Depends on what your learning strengths are and how you're thinking about things. But then if you just saw at the top right there, I got a check mark that says, congratulations, that's completed. So you know that this part is completed. So there's another one, there's more. I'm scrolling on down here. You can see that these are all interaction things. Anything that says participation activity is part of your reading. I'm going to jump to another section now just to go look and see where we'll find some of our challenge activities, which are what we're calling our homework. So the first two sections, you saw there was nothing. There was only participation activities. As we get into, maybe is it 1 point? I forget where they start. There we go. All right, 1.3, we have our first challenge activity. So if you go back up, you're seeing we've got some participation activity. I haven't completed it because there's no checkbox at the top right there for 1.3.4 basic text output. But if I scroll on down to challenge activity, you'll get the same kind of thing. So you're supposed to drag and drop the code statements here to make the figure that's we want. So it says what? The following figure. We want to make the figure. So it looks like the first thing I need to do is get a full band across. Then I want the twos. Then I want another full band. And then the twos again. And then a final full band. And then you check your answer. Hey, I'm done. First challenge activity. So blue check mark is homework. Orange check mark was participation. And then I move on. You could do your homework at the same time you're doing your reading. You can go through, but you got to make sure that you do all the requested things because that's how you get credit for those things. And that's it. The labs, labs are not posted yet, but you can see where they may come from. So if you go back to our home here and kind of cruise on down, I don't know if they're all available for you because some of them are published and some of them are unpublished. So you're seeing kind of behind the scenes with the instructor access here. But it'll say lab on the right-hand side there. You may be able to access some of these. I haven't assigned anything yet. So if you do something that's for your fun right now, anything that you want to do for credit will show up in your assignments. So make sure you're looking at this bottom right tab here that tells you everything. I see week one reading, that's due Friday night. Week one homework, that's due Sunday night. You can do them tonight. You could be done with both of those tonight and be working on week two. Week two is already available. And you're going to see in a little bit of time, we're going to have pretty much the entire week, the entire term will be posted. So you'll be ready to go. For anything, if you want to work ahead, which I highly recommend that you work ahead because there's going to be a point where it's super easy for you and then it gets harder. And I don't know what your schedule's like. You don't know when your midterms are and those kind of things. So you might as well get, when you have time, get ahead so that you have that flexibility. So labs, I'll show something about that later. That's just a quick intro video, but I did want to point out there are, for those of you that are saying something like, hey, Python, it exists outside of Zybooks. Sure. If you want to install it on your machine, we can do those kind of things. So here I'm just clearing up I have a command line here. I'm working on a Mac. So if you have a Mac, we can do something like this. I can't see what I'm typing here, but man, good old Zoom in the way. Yeah, I thought I hit one too many. So we can work in things like Jupyter Notebooks. I'll show you what that looks like really quick to see the actual Python in the real world. Oh, come on. There we go. So I just, from the command line, ran Python. This is Python on my machine, and I'm accessing it through a Jupyter Notebook. If you're interested in these kind of things, we can totally do this, and I can help you out. You want to maybe swing on by or swing by office hours on Zoom or something like that. I don't know every machine that ever existed, but I can try and help you with your machine. But in this interface, it gets a little bit more complicated than what you see in Zybooks. So we're learning the vocabulary and the programming structure in Zybooks, but actually running it out in the real world, that's not something that is uh, being done at the moment. You'll see our labs do look a lot like a Juniper notebook, and we'll talk about that as we get into this. But if I go through and look at this and kind of make something like maybe I want to make a new file here, let's make a new one. And I'm gonna go and click on it. And yep, sounds good to me. And then some of those commands that we saw, those print commands that we were working with a moment ago, one of the first ones you might do is hello world. Well, I'll do hello canvas and CS 133 students. And then you can see there's like colors that are lighting up the IDE here, the thing that is, colors for print. And then when you saw me complete that um, parenthesis, open and close, it blinks or it highlights. And then there's a different color for the text that's inside. All of this stuff is there to help you kind of code. And if I hit enter, nothing happens because in this world it's a shift enter, if I can remember where shift enter. And shift enter is going to execute it. So this is when you hit run, hit that little triangle button in Zybooks, it's running a version of Python to show you inputs and outputs like what we see here. So what I did was print that text and I executed that command and then it printed it out. So if you're interested in this, using a notebook like this and interacting with Python, because some of you have mentioned that you're going to go maybe farther in this, or maybe you're thinking about investigating Python and just computing in general, I'm happy to help you out. If what I just did terrifies you and you say that none of this is what you want to do and you don't even know if you want to go back to Zybooks because Zybooks is kind of scary, no problem. That's where we need to stay for this class. You can complete this class entirely in Zybooks and not wander out of there. So just make sure your homework's getting done and you're asking lots of questions. So I think that's it for right now. I don't want to make this too long, and hopefully the network issues on campus will resolve themselves. But if you're having trouble posting this, I can reading this or watching this when I post it. Let me know and I'll maybe find a different venue because maybe we can throw it on YouTube or something like that. Anyway, good luck. Happy week one. Looking forward to meeting with you all and getting to know you all and seeing you learn some things. So happy Tuesday. We'll get out of here, stop sharing. And screen sharing, but sure, where do we stop recording? There we go. All right, have a good